What's going on, CrossFit Federal? It is Wednesday, and today we got a bit of a doozy. Not that we haven't had doozies all week this week already. And you'll notice that the trend this time, you're seeing the barbell programmed a lot more. I want to make sure that those that have bars are able to use them. I mean, I know you guys are using them anyway, because a lot of people are they're probably doing some of our workouts that we program, maybe some of their own, whatever, and mixing things up, and that's totally okay as long as we're staying consistent doing something every day. But the intention of this week, and really these weeks now working on work capacity, is you'll see that it's lighter loading. We're not going super, super heavy. One, because people are limited, they don't have that many plates at home if they do have bars, and two, because when we're trying to develop work capacity, we want to program something that's going to encourage someone to say, not put a bar down, not put a dumbbell down or kettlebell down, whatever their implement is, and try to do bigger sets. Try to do more things unbroken. Try to get a little more consistent across those movements, so then when they come up in the open in 10 weeks, that we attack those different than we would. So we're more mentally prepared and also just physically prepared, obviously, because we're developing that kind of like you're going to find a lot less muscle fatigue if you're doing and practicing bigger sets rather than doing a heavier weight and breaking things up a whole bunch. There's a lot of times more benefit to, say, scaling something back or doing a lighter load and doing a bigger set than there is to do, I'm going to do singles, or I'm going to do sets of 3 every time in my set of 21 on these front squats or these whatever. So the intention behind this is we want you to try to hold on to that bar, not put it down, and focus on that as much as you can. If it happens and you break and you rest, that's okay. We're not saying, hey, you did a bad job if you rested in this workout. We just want you to try to push yourselves a little more and finding that mental capacity and, muscular capacity to be able to keep those things up. We're not going to develop that unless we put ourselves in those situations. So when we look at today's workout, on 3, 2, 1, go. We're starting off with a 21-15-9 rep scheme of power snatches at 75 pounds for guys, 55 pounds for gals, and overhead squats, same weight. Now, you could feasibly do 21-15-9 without ever putting that barbell down. Is that realistic? For most of us, absolutely not. But you could, so I'm just throwing that out there. So with that, 21-15-9, we do 21 snatches, 21 overhead squats, 15-15-9, 9. In the middle of this, we're going to do 50 toes to bar. Now, if you don't have a pull-up bar at home to do toes to bar on, you can always scale these a couple different ways, and we'll talk about that when we talk about movement standards. You can find something like a workbench or a desk or a table or a chair, something that you could grab onto that isn't going to move and do those toes to bar from the floor, as we've scaled in the gym for a long time with the uprights on the rig, and I will go over that in a second. Or we can do tuck-ups instead, and I will cover both of those. Once we're done with 50 toes to bar, we're going back to a power snatch and overhead squat. We're going to go ascending reps this time, so 9, 15, 21, still keeping the same weight on the bar. So 75 pounds for the snatches, 75 pounds for the men, 55 pounds for the women of snatches and overhead squat. So we go 9 snatch, 9 overhead squat, 15, 15, 21, 21 time. So decent amount of volume today. We're talking 90 reps of snatch, 90 reps of overhead squat, and 50 toes to bar. So decent amount of volume, but again, at a light enough weight that you might be able to really surprise yourself at how quickly you can get through these and how big a sets you can go without dropping that bar or taking a break. So let's talk a little bit about our movement standards, and we'll talk about some scale options for those overhead squats as well, or toes to bar. So here with the barbell, again, 75 pounds. Now, if I don't have a bar, you could totally use a kettlebell or a dumbbell and do this with that anyway. How I would break this one down is I wouldn't change the rep scheme. I would do alternating, say, dumbbell snatch or total reps of a kettlebell snatch to get to 21, and then do single arm overhead squats and try to break those up between right and left. So you do have the ability to do this without having a barbell or without having a pull-up bar. But I will talk about the movement standards with the bar. So power snatch is going to be a wide grip on the bar. From the floor, you're going to stand up at the bar and give it a big jump. And on snatch and clean, it's jump and punch on a snatch. You're taking that bar all the way up overhead in one motion. For a clean, it's a jump and catch. So big jump and then catch with that bar in the front rack position. So the snatch today, just think about jump and punch. And working on cycling that power snatch. Straight into your overhead squat. And the overhead squat, really think about drive up from your lats. If I want to create stability in my upper back, I need to turn on the musculature in my upper back. If I'm lazy in my shoulders, it's going to make things really unstable. So I want to think about once that bar is overhead, I'm driving up from my lats. So I'm not shrugging my shoulders and creating internal rotation, driving up from here to turn on everything. And that's going to make that upper, all the musculature in that upper thoracic area, so your scapula, your traps, everything else up here, is all going to turn on and help stabilize and make that overhead position feel a lot more comfortable. Now, once it's overhead, same squat standards as any other squat that we do. Hip crease below the top of the knee and stand all the way back up at the top. So that's one good rep. So for overhead squat, again, if you were using one implement, same idea. You're driving that arm straight up. Try to get your hands stacked straight up and down as much as you can and keep that bicep close to your ear. The hand that isn't holding a weight off to the side helps counterbalance a little bit. Now from here, having enough shoulder mobility to actually get all the way down in that overhead squat and come back up, that's a challenge. If you don't have enough shoulder mobility to overhead squat with a single arm, do your best. Go as low as you can. Try your hardest. Make them the best possible reps that you can make them. If they're not perfect, that's okay. We may not be there yet, but again, we're never going to get something down if we don't start to actually try to do it. So don't avoid doing an overhead squat just because you know you can't. Go as low as you can while keeping that arm positioned, even if I'm not to depth, and then coming right back up. Totally okay to do what you're able to do in any workout, in any circumstance, whether we're back in the gym or not. So, right, now toes to bar. If I have a pull-up bar, standards on toes to bar, everyone knows them for the most part, but just to cover them again, the heels have to pass the vertical plane of the bar, so my heels need to come back behind the barbell, or the pull-up bar, at the bottom when I'm at extension for my toe to bar. And then both my toes need to touch the bar, both feet, in between my hands at the same time. So, just making sure that you're getting contact every single time. If I don't have a pull-up bar, a lot of us don't. I can do these on the ground. Again, having something stationary, something that's heavy enough that's not going to move around on me. If I lay down on the ground, grab onto, again, this could be a workbench. It could be, it could be a desk. It could be a table. It could be a chair. It could be whatever. You've got something vertical that you can hold on to that isn't going to move if you pull on it a little bit. So from here, I'm grabbing on, bringing my toes up and touching, or at least getting them close. If I have a bench that's really low to the ground, just try to think about getting your feet up to about eye level. So you're coming all the way in, creating all that flexion or contraction here in the midline as you're bringing those legs up. Try your best to keep your legs as straight as you can. And then tuck ups is the other option. If I don't have something stationary to grab onto, I'm going to start off on the ground. I don't know why I stood up. I'm going to start off on the ground. From here, I'm going to bring my knees to my chest. I'm going to reach for my heels with my hands. So it's very similar to a V-up, but I'm just not reaching all the way up to try to touch my toes. So from here, I'm going to sit up, reach for my heels, and tuck my knees to my chest. So I'm hinging at my midline. It's similar to a sit-up or a crunch or something else like that, but it takes that coordination to create, again, that closed hip angle that we would normally create on the pull-up bar when we're doing toes to bar. So, very similar stimulus, at least something you can do without any equipment to simulate or at least get close to the stimulus of a toe to bar. Now, I think that covers all of that. So let's go back to the board, talk through this one more time, and then get to it. So again, at 3, 2, 1, go. We are starting off with 21-15-9 of power snatch with 75, overhead squat at 75 as well, 55 pounds for the ladies. In the middle, to break things up, we do 50 toes to bar. Again, that can be on the floor to an upright or something, or tuck ups if you don't have the ability to do either, or if you have a pull-up bar, do standard toes to bar. Then we go right back into a 9, 15, 21 rep scheme of the same power snatch and overhead squat. Once we finish that last set of 21 of overhead squats, time, we're done. That's our score. So, should be a good time. It's a lot of reps, but a lighter weight. So try hard to hold on to whatever it is that you're using, dumbbell, kettlebell, barbell, anything. Try to do bigger sets than you want to. Try to do bigger sets than you're comfortable with. Push yourself. You're never gonna know what you're truly capable of unless you put yourself in a situation that you're then forced to actually see what your limits are. So try to hang on just a little bit longer. Have fun with this one today, guys. It's gonna be a good time. And with that, let's get after it.